goodness. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Topher Drives, where it is currently just after 8 a.m. and I have to run a commute out to Vintique Motors in Livonia, Michigan to do some Bring a Trailer photography, and I figured we would take our long-term loaner, 2026 BMW Alpina XB7, to give you some more impressions and also a little bit of a mini wrap-up because we are just about done with our time in this. And when I say we, I mean myself and Emily, because this will now be going to the Topher and his wife for the majority of the remaining time we have with the car. We got this with just over 400 miles on it. It now has just over 3,400 miles. So in the last couple of months, we've put 3,000 miles on this. Putting 3,000 miles on this is more than we've ever put on any press car ever. So we do have some long-standing impressions. And as some of you know, as most of you should know by now, Emily and I have just moved, and we used the Alpina XB7 as a bit of a U-Haul truck. In fact, the seats are still down from moving with this all week, and I'm in a bit of an unfamiliar parking lot because I'm leaving from the new city that I live in. This is now Saline, Michigan, a city that I haven't talked super highly of in the past because I got a stupid speeding ticket here like 5 years ago, but I've put that behind me and geez, I'm one of them now, I guess. But anyway, we're gonna take the Alpina XB7 out to Livonia. I got in this morning, and through the chaos of moving and things, we didn't realize that it was almost out of fuel, so we'll have to stop and get fuel on our way. But anyway, this will be a quick walk around because we've already showed this car twice on the channel. But you can see the seats are down, and I'm gonna leave them down because I was driving this the other day with the seats down. I put it in sport mode, and you can hear the exhaust a lot better when all of this isn't in the way. So I think we'll leave them down. We've already showed you the third row and the back seat so many times. I am just gonna reinstall this little privacy shade so it's not rolling around in the back. Honestly, this shade has spent most of its time just sitting in the garage because it's kind of just this silly little thing that only really works if you have the third row folded up, and we never do. We use the trunk for things. So that just kind of sits here. A couple of little things have slipped through the cracks. We actually used the Alpina for Emily's bridal shower as well. We had this thing stuffed with gifts a couple of weeks ago, and this was actually one of the freebies from the bridal shower. It's like some wildflower seeds or something. So, you know, you can see that we've been using this. We've spent so much time in this XB7, and I'm excited to talk a little bit about what that's been like today. I'll have the links to the 2 other videos we've filmed on this in the description. But before we jump in, if you somehow haven't seen this car on the channel, if you're unfamiliar, the XB7 is kind of the last Alpina as we know them right now, because Alpina was acquired by BMW a few years ago, and then their contract ended in 2025 for building these sort of modified cars. And BMW has recently shown the Alpina Vision concept, which kind of looks like a shark nose E24 6 Series mated with a new BMW 8 Series, and it made this really cool little coupe thing, and it does still have a V8. I was a little bit concerned that Alpinas would be going over to EVs, but it seems like the V8s are going to stay alive, so there is hope for Alpina. Burkhard Bovensiepen would be very excited to see this, and well, there's a lot of lore with Alpina, which maybe we'll talk about while we're on the road. But I do want to talk about what's powering this. The S68 4.4 liter twin power turbo V8 with 631 horsepower, 590 pound-feet of torque, 8-speed automatic transmission. This is all-wheel drive. It's got a 4-corner air suspension and rear-wheel steering. Ours, as tested, just over $160,000, finished in Alpine white over individual ivory and Atlas gray. It's a lovely spec that I was a bit skeptical of when I saw the build sheet for the first time, but now that we've lived with this, we are just obsessed with how this looks, and especially when it's clean, aired out, and the right lighting with the beautiful Alpina 20-spoke wheels. Oh, it's just the best. We've got a staggered tire setup on some Pirelli P0s, a little bit wider in the back at a 325/30 R23. I've been a little bit worried over the few months we've had this that we were going to have a bit of an incident with a pothole, but knock on plastic, we have been okay in the front. I believe this is a 285/35/23. The only incident we did have was we did get a nail on the tire at some point. This was a couple of months ago now, but no incidents since, and there is actually real fine ash wood in here that I can knock on. So that's a little bit nicer for our case, I think. But quick little glimpse at these seats. You guys have already seen these. Let's go ahead and jump in and get started because I have to get some fuel. We've got 49 miles to E. Use the soft close door and we will get this thing fired up. You can see we have the warning for fuel reserve, which is different than the low fuel warning. It'll give you the fuel reserve at 50 miles to E, and then I think when you get down to like 2 gallons, which ends up being 30 something miles to E, then you get the low fuel light. So you've kind of got like a pre-warning and then the full warning when it's really urgent and the car is very unhappy with you. Otherwise, up front, it's just regular Alpina stuff. It says Alpina on the iDrive selector. It says Alpina on the steering wheel. You've got the special green and blue stitching with the non-sport steering wheel that has shift buttons as opposed to shift paddles. But I got a DM on Instagram from a subscriber who told me that there are actually quite a few more options for the Alpina XB7 in other markets. Like you can actually get paddle shifters. You can get it to say XB7 on the dashboard, but since we're only American, you know, we only have these handful of options. Even though all of these X7s are built in the same factory in Spartanburg, South Carolina, you think maybe they'd give us some more options, but hey, it's all right. I'm not complaining. I love this car, and it has seriously been a dream come true to live with this for the past couple of months. I've had to pinch myself every time I've driven this because it is seriously my dream SUV. And if I personally had $160,000 to spend on a car, this would be up there. This would be a top contender. So I feel like that itch has been scratched for me, and now I don't have to spend $160,000. However, handing the keys back to this might be one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Into reverse, you can see very good cameras, the sun coming through the trees. What a beautiful morning it is. And these are super clear, high quality cameras. Into drive, you can see that front camera comes up with leading lines. This car has mostly been driven by my fiance, Emily, who you guys know and love. And she came from a Mazda CX-30 Turbo, which is a much smaller vehicle. But when I got in this and I drove it for the first time, it had been a couple of years since I had driven an XB7, I was not worried about her driving this car because it's so easy. It's so confidence-inspiring. The seating position is super high, very commanding. I mean, even with this set in the lowest spot, I can see over the hood. Visibility is good out of this. You know, you see this, it's massive, it's a 3-row SUV, it's 160 grand. It's a little bit intimidating, and she was, ooh, look at this R107, beautiful. She was a little bit intimidated by this at first, but literally after she drove it one time to work, she was like, oh yeah, we're totally fine. And between this and the Hyundai Ioniq 5 XRT, she's grabbed the keys to this every single day. In fact, today is the first time she's taken the Hyundai Ioniq 5 to work. And this isn't to say that the Ioniq 5 is a bad car, because it isn't. I love driving it. I've been the one driving it, and the Topher and his wife as well. But it just goes to show how special this Alpina is, that she's willing to put up with the 18 mpg that this gets, just so she can have a little bit of V8 time in the morning to warm her up for her day at work. And I love it too for that. I have an Escalade V at the house right now, and I grabbed the keys to this because, well, I'm going to be spending a bunch of time in the Escalade V later this week, and I think the Topher is going to be taking the Alpina this week, so I'm like, I need one last little hurrah in this car before it goes on to the next family. But I want to put this in sport before we make it to the highway because we're up to temp. We need fuel anyway. And I want to show you what this sounds like with the seats down. You've got some serious pops and burbles in this. And Alpina's all about speed. That's their whole thing. They're not about sport. In fact, when Burkhard Bovensiepen was making race cars for BMW Alpina back in the 1970s, when all of the other competitor race teams were focused on taking weight out and making the cars faster, Burkhard was adding padding to the seat because in his mind, a more comfortable racer would be faster. And that really does make sense, and that philosophy is still carried forward today in this 2026 XB7, and I'm sure it will be carried forward in the new BMW Alpina cars and things. And this car suits me so well because as much as I like a sporty car, for something that I'm daily driving, I just don't care. I just want to be comfortable, I want to go quickly, and I want to have a good sound out of the exhaust. And this kind of checks all those boxes. Now, do I need a big 3-row family SUV situation? No, I don't. But this is the only Alpina vehicle that exists right now in 2026. Following the demise of the Alpina B8. But despite this being a big 3-row family SUV, it is bonkers quick. And the brakes are very good too. They have to be, obviously, because this is 5,900 pounds. It's 3 tons of Alpina. Throttle response is so snappy when you're in sport. Just getting out, the spamming of the controls here before we have to put gas and get on the highway. You can also shift this down here with the crystal. It is just wicked fast, this thing. All right, let's calm it down. Let's go back into Comfort Plus and float ourselves down the road. Something a bit strange, actually, that I've noticed with this car lately is it's been defaulting itself into the second highest suspension setting. I feel like it didn't used to do that. Like, it rides in ground clearance mode as default, so I have to manually put this into normal every time I get into it now, and I don't think it did this before, unless I just didn't notice. But it rides a bit like it's on stilts when you're up in this higher suspension level. So I've just been putting it into normal. I don't know if the car, if we messed with some kind of setting that did it, but I went into the settings and couldn't find anything. What? Hey, BMW. What is it? You can say I'm bored to this?
Do you want more variety and entertainment? If so, then just say I'm bored.
I'm bored.
How about a quick anecdote to pass the time? Can you imagine that BMW used to make cooking pots? Right after World War II, the main Munich plant was almost completely destroyed, but they had to keep the business afloat somehow. So they made motorcycles, vehicle brakes, and cooking pots. Really glad they focused on what they do best again. Otherwise, we would have never met.
Wow! That's very fun. Actually, this reminds me about a bit of that Alpina lore. What a great segue. Thank you to the Alpina and our little digital assistant here. The Alpina family made typewriters before cars, and in fact, Burkhard was destined to take over his family's typewriter factory, but he said, no, I don't want to make typewriters. I want to modify the carburetors and crankshafts on BMWs. And here we are today, because he was very good at what he did, and you can see our logo reflects that, the dual carburetors and the crankshaft here, which I love that they've never changed this logo. That is so good. But it just goes to show that somebody that has a very strong passion for something will always just make it work. And Burkhard Bovensiepen, sir, I owe you so much. You've brought me so much happiness. Steering is super quick. We have the rear axle steer like I told you guys about. Something that you do have to get used to while driving an XB7, because the steering is so quick that you want to make sure you're not going to tag a curb with one of these 23-inch wheels. But seriously, like, the smallest movement on this wheel does make a pretty big difference. We'll be polite and we'll pull up to this middle pump. Okay, let's see how much damage this does to my wallet. Luckily, I'm going to do some photography today, and we'll be a little bit replenished, I suppose. But this is just about on E, so it's going to take quite a bit. Right. Even at the fuel station, I can't escape the lawn crew. There you go, 19.6 gallons going in, $101. Obviously, putting fuel in this car has been the most painful part of the ownership over the last few months. Everything else has been pure bliss, but when I have to go to a fuel station in this, I do cringe a little bit because I know it's going to be over $100 every single time. So, all right, let's get on the move here. Let's go into sport here for this entrance ramp. Goodness. I talk about you should never need to brake when you're merging on the highway. Well, if you're full beans in an XB7, maybe you do. What a machine this is. It's so athletic for being 6,000 pounds and having a 23-inch wheel. My goodness. All right, back into Comfort Plus we go. Suspension is for some reason raising. Put this back into normal. This really is where the Alpina shines, is when you're on the highway, because this is sort of what it's built for. It's built to go very quickly on the Autobahn, but since we do have speed limits here in the US, we're obviously not able to take advantage of the 180 mile an hour top speed of this thing, which is just ludicrous for a 3-row SUV. But regardless, it means when you're sitting between speeds of 70 and 80 miles an hour, it is quite serene. And I'm actually going to change my content here in the middle. Ooh, a G meter, that's cool. Usually we have it on the map or we have it on the trip computer. We also have augmented reality in this, which is pretty cool. Should we try the augmented reality? I've never really messed with this. This is for if you're going somewhere with navigation and you want the Forza Horizon little arrows to pop up in the cluster, then you use the augmented reality. All right, entrance ramp in Comfort Plus. Whew, a little bit of an ab workout to keep myself steady there, but we got her done. Very nice active roll mitigation here, because even in the softest suspension setting, this still felt incredibly dialed around there. And it's worth testing because, you don't always think or have time to put yourself into sport when you have an opportunity like that to, take a quick corner. You sometimes just have to deal with it in Comfort Plus. And it's good. It does the thing. This, however, is not good. Rush hour morning traffic. The cool thing about this Alpina XB7 and many other high-end BMW products in 2026 is that they have what's called Assist Plus. So if you turn the cruise control on, it'll just do the traffic for you. You just sit here. And then it gives you the message about Assisted Driving Plus and when you can and can't use it. But one of the worst parts of your morning commute is this crap, the rush hour traffic. But in the case of the XB7, it'll just do it for you. Well, while this is doing the driving, let's talk about some other impressions we've had over the last few months. Vent placement, while I do like these little tabs right here that you would think would make it very easy to aim the air at you, I don't know if it's because the vents themselves are very thin. This one over here is not, but these ones in the middle are quite thin. It's a little bit hard to properly aim the air at your face. Emily and I have had a little bit of trouble on days where we're super hot, and it also seems like the vent speed, I mean, it goes up to like level 5, but it seems like it should blow a little bit harder. So that's one petty little thing that we've noticed. I do like this vent over here on the left, and so the 2 vents on the ends of the dashboard, those are good. It's these ones in the middle that are a little bit of a nuisance. Additionally, we had check the mirror. Yes! Also, I've completely figured out this Assist Plus now. I didn't know that it watched your eyes to such a level where it knows if you check your blind spot. So it'll prompt you to change lanes, but it won't do it unless you physically check the mirror. But it knows if you check the mirror because it watches your face. Ooh, a little close to the truck. Okay. We're good. So big fan of Assist Plus. It does it all. What was I talking about? Oh, for a while we had the feature turned on where the comfort access, where it's unlock while approaching, lock while walking away. Stupidest feature ever, because while moving, you're going back and forth to the car a lot. One person has the key in their pocket, one person's putting things in the car. Nightmare. So, if you're moving with an X7, maybe turn that feature off. But if you're only going places by yourself where you're scared you're going to forget to lock the car, then maybe have that feature turned on. Otherwise, I kind of like to do everything myself. It's just a bit easier, and you don't have to constantly be trying to unlock it. Also doesn't help that this doesn't have rear proxy key. So if you're trying to get into the back door, you have to come up here and hit the unlock button. And somebody in my comment section told me that the pre-facelift XB7s had rear proxy key. Why would they take that away? It was probably some sort of a chip shortage issue that just never got resolved. Look at this, it doesn't even hog the left lane. Check that right mirror, it gets you right back over. In a lot of ways, I found this Assist Plus system to be better than GM's Super Cruise because it hasn't tried crashing me into anybody at all the whole time we've had this car. It's been quite good, actually. Check traffic to change to faster lane. Yes, we'll do so. Thinks I'm distracted, but I was just doing what it asked me to do. All right, I'm actually going to turn this off for a second because we are exiting. This iDrive 8.5 system hasn't really bothered me at all throughout the few months we've had this. The only thing that is annoying is toggling on your heated and ventilated seats, because it is multiple clicks. You have to click there and then click again, as opposed to just hitting a button. I would really like to see the return of buttons, but seeing a lot of this new Classa stuff that BMW is putting out for the next generation of cars, it's going to be across the board. We've seen the new 3 Series, we've seen the new X5, we've seen the new 7 Series, we've seen the Alpina Vision concept. They all have this interior that looks like it doesn't have any buttons, though it seems they've kept a volume knob down in the center console. I like to think that's because of me, because I complain so much, and we're tight with BMW. I like to think that they listen to my opinions. Maybe they'll have a physical dimmer switch for the Topher as well. But we'll just have to see. I haven't been hands-on with a new BMW interior yet, so I can't judge it completely. I want to touch it. I want to live with it. I want to see if it's annoying. From the pictures, it looks like it's going to be annoying. But, hey, we shall see. But I think this XB7, we're at a pretty good level with this, and it's a little bit of a mixed bag because it's the older style steering wheel with the physical buttons on it. We have some buttons down here with the iDrive selector and the shifter and all this stuff. That's all good. But then the whole center stack, they've gotten rid of a lot of the physical buttons for iDrive 8, 8.5. There's no climate control panel anymore. You do get the volume knob here still. But I just had a Range Rover Sport. I talked about this in that video too. I mean, part of the essence of luxury is ease of use, is having all of these physical buttons. And when these companies get rid of them, it kind of takes some of that luxurious sense away. Now, I'm not saying that this XB7 is too big of an offender of this, because there are lots of physical buttons still in this car, but I worry about the future of these cars with them just not having enough. Sitting in this car, obviously, while it drives for you, is an absolute treat, but it's not only the ease of mind, it's the ease of body. We have massaging seats, we have heated armrests. If it's cold out, that is just a lovely feature. And they're pretty squishy as well. Your elbow surfaces are comfortable, and when you're just resting your hands on your legs anyway, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. But I also want to talk about the other thing that I really love in this comfort-wise, and that is the Bowers & Wilkins sound system. Anything that has a Bowers & Wilkins badge on it is going to be S tier, and this is obviously no exception. The sound system absolutely bumps, and Emily has loved having it for her morning commutes out to work. I've loved having it for any reason, just sitting in the car and listening to my tunes. But I figured maybe today we try out the new sound system test song in here and see how it sounds.
Keeps on growing, yeah, keeps me going, got this feeling, just keeps going, one back, yeah, keeps me going, keeps on growing, yeah, keeps me going, got this feeling, just keeps going, one back, keeps on growing, yeah, keeps me going, got this feeling, just keeps going.
I don't think I'd change anything about this sound system. You feel sort of enveloped in it, as if you've jumped into a pool of maple syrup, and that syrup is all of the sound waves. That analogy sounded better in my brain, but you feel like you're coated in the music in this car. And everybody that wants a premium sound system should go to a Bowers & Wilkins. I mean, not many companies do this. BMW, McLaren, and Volvo. I think that's it. And I guess Polestar, if you count them. But they were just banned from the US market, so we won't be seeing Polestars ever again, I guess. Ride quality here with the air suspension is lovely, especially when you're in Comfort Plus, but I haven't really found a mode that compromises ride quality at all. Even if you go into Sport, it's still plenty cozy. And you know what I love about the Alpina is that there are really only 2 drive modes with sort of sub-modes. You've got Sport and Comfort, that's it, which really is all you need. You can push this up further to Sport Plus, or you can bring it back further to Comfort Plus like I have right now, but there are only 2 buttons down here, which means whatever your preferred mode is, and I'm going to take this here through the construction zone because it's probably not going to like that too much. Whatever your preferred mode is, you have easy access buttons to them down here next to the shifter. Okay, looks like we're getting into phase 2 of the traffic here. This section is just messed up because, okay, we are hoping that this bubble tourist behind me is paying attention. That's always the stressiest part of traffic, is you leave yourself enough room, but you have to hope that the person behind you has the same mindset. Good on you, bubble tourist man. He's wearing a diamond ring. I can see it glinting in the sun. Classy guy. Ventilated seat here doing its thing. Not a super loud ventilated seat. Honestly, it's kind of calming to listen to it. It just sounds like a box fan in the bedroom while you're trying to have a nice little slumber. If you're wearing headphones, go to sleep. Throttle calibration, brake calibration here in traffic is lovely when you don't have the Assist Plus doing it for you. I'm usually a little bit hesitant to let Assist Plus do its thing when you're in a construction zone somewhere that, the highway's not mapped out as it was intended to be. But even when you're doing this yourself, throttle's very progressive, linear. We talked about this earlier. But at very low speeds like this, that sort of thing matters because you don't want to be lurching forward. You don't want to be lurching to a stop. You want to have all of these inputs be super smooth. And happy to report, very good smoothness here in the XB7 in the traffic. Also, I'm just now noticing over the 28 miles we've commuted today, 21.4 mpg. How about that? We've had a couple little full throttle runs too. You efficient little thing, you. Good job. I've never seen a number that high in this car. Maybe I have, actually. I think when we broke this in and we went down to Indiana, maybe it did that much. That feels like it's been just years since we filmed that video. Time goes by so quickly when you're moving, and moving has pretty much consumed my entire life for the past month, as far as looking at the house, getting the inspections, closing on the house, moving, renting the U-Haul, moving some more, moving cars, etc. I'm so excited to show you guys this new spot. I just have to figure out how I'm going to do it, but it's so cool. It's kind of everything that Emily and I have ever dreamed of, so really just excited to sort of involve you all in that as well. But anyway, we're 5 minutes from the end of this video, 5 minutes from the end of the commute, and kind of 5 minutes from the end of what you guys will see on this Alpina XB7 for a while. I do still want to do a road trip in this car. I'll just go steal it from the Topher for a few days when we decide when we have time and where we want to go. Maybe sometime in August we'll have a chance to actually go somewhere in this. But standing impressions, okay? This Alpina is everything I hoped it would be. It's nothing that I didn't hope it would be. There's been no weird surprises in this. I knew there'd be a few little quirks, you know, like the weird vents and the stupid comfort access stuff that you are able to turn off, so that's really not a problem. And the, nice 996. And the sort of miserable fuel economy, and you know, this takes premium. It's got a huge tank. It's over $100 every time you have to fill it up. That is stuff that I just knew I would have to live with. But all the good things outweigh the bad things by every pound of the curb weight of this XB7, which is 3 tons. So that should put it in perspective how much I love this thing. And just from like a personal standpoint, I mean, I said this in the beginning, this is like my dream SUV. So it's just been like, it's hard for me to put into words how cool it's been to live with this car. Thank you, BMW. Thank you, Jeff, for trusting us with this thing for an extended period of time. It's seriously been a dream come true. And I may actually shed a tear when I have to hand the keys back to this thing. I'm dreading the day where that has to happen. You'll have to pry the keys out of my cold, dead hands. Isn't that like a quote from something? I don't know. Oh, let's get this last little stretch done. 21.7 mpg. That's going to go down, 21.5. But I think if you're in the market for a big luxury SUV that has a little bit of character, that's a little bit special, I mean, look a little bit past a GLS AMG or an Audi SQ8/SQ7, whatever. Slash even a BMW X7 M60i. Like, I know this is quite a bit more expensive, but it's different. Not everybody's going to have one of these. And I think it's cool that BMW even Alpinaizes the X7 in the first place. Like, I wish we had more Alpina models, but this is a cool one to have here in 2026. But with that being said, you know, get one while you can. I don't know that they're even building these anymore. They did do a limited run manufacturer edition that was like another 20 grand on top of what this already is, like $185,000 with destination for like a special frozen green, you know, black wheels, special badges, sort of celebration model, if you will, of the XB7. And I don't know if those are all sold. They probably are, because there was a very limited run of them. But if you want to get one of these, you should act very quickly, because 26 is the last model year for this until we see the new generation of Alpina. But this is it. This is the swan song for the sort of tuning company as we know it. And we'll get this pulled into Vintique Motors. We'll give you one last look at this very special car. And special is not a word that you use often with a 3-row family SUV. So that should really say something with the care that they've put into this car. It does not go unnoticed. Glad that Alpina kept doing cars. I'm glad that BMW kept doing cars instead of cookware, and I'm glad that Alpina kept doing cars instead of typewriters. What would that collab have been? It would have been like a pot that you could type with, but as opposed to that, we have this car. Love it. Okay, let's give you one last look. Let's use the soft close. Oh, I was gonna say let's use the soft close door. There it is. Oh, my precious. I just adore this car so much. I will have one of my own someday. Hold me to that. Just probably a pre-facelift, severely depreciated S63 car, but you know what? That'll be okay. Maybe someday an S68 car will be cheap enough for me to own. But as for now, I've had my fun with this, and look forward to hopefully one more video on this car on Topher Drives, but you'll see some more on the Topher channel, and hopefully the Winding Road Magazine channel as well. But that'll wrap it up for today. Thank you all so much for riding along with me on my commute. Always love having you guys along for the ride, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.